What's going on, everybody? My name is Mark. You're watching the BigCritique Podcast. Ryan Murphy is in
What's
Florida.
up? How you doing, Mark? You know what? Honestly, it's Easter Sunday. I had absolutely no idea I was going to see a bearded Jew back from the dead. Long time no see, Mark.
How you
doing?
I wish I could re-arise right now, like back from the dead, like out of a coffin, like hello, you know. But
It's like a resurrection.
It's a resurrection. Hopefully we do this again sometime soon. I will pretend to come out of a coffin as we're greeting each other.
That's actually pretty awesome. A little theatrics to the whole podcast. It's nice, you know. It's like you'll be a pioneer. He's like the first one to do podcast theater. Hey, that's a fucking idea. No one's doing that yet. You see a lot of live music, but you don't see no theater. I haven't seen it yet.
When I went with my fiance last year to take her to the Backstreet Boys concert. By the way, they put on a really, really good show.
I heard.
And when we were there, I said to myself, I was like, not for nothing, I feel like the future of entertainment is fucking live podcasting. Like, you get an audience and just put them in an arena and people talking on stage. It's not really that much different than watching a play. It's actually a very similar principle.
It is, and you're also with that, I just posted a video and I had mentioned about how Dropkick Murphy saved St. Patty's Day with that live concert. And honestly, they play that thing in Boston every year. And they're playing in front of a couple thousand people. It's not much, maybe 5,000 people I think fit in the venue that they play on Patty's Day.
Right.
They played in front of millions of people who were all tuning in, and they were able to get to get their entertainment out to so many more people that everybody's starting to realize that this is a better medium even for just live anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just you're reaching so many more, and it could turn out to benefit. At least if you start charging for live concerts, you could pay $5 to live stream a concert that only airs once, like a pay-per-view. Instead of paying the $55 that you would pay to see them in concert, they'd make more money because they'd get 1 million people watching in a shot instead of 25,000 people. 1 million, all paying $5. They'll make the same amount of money as they did in the live. But you also get feedback with the live audience too. You get there's a relationship there with the audience and the musician.
There's an energy in the room whenever you go to an arena that I think you will get doing it like this. I just don't think you'll get it yet. I think what has to happen in order for that to happen is that's like the transference of energy from person to person, right? That's like the dynamics of how that works. And I think the only way that could work without being there in person is once virtual reality really starts to kick in and people start to becomes necessary for everybody to have glasses the way it's necessary for everybody to have phones. Once that becomes necessary, that is when I think in-person events will really start to merge into virtual reality events. I don't know if this is going to be the catalyst for that. If I had to put on a bet on it, I probably would bet on that. I just don't know how long it would take to do that.
Well, without doubt, everything is going to change. You know what I mean? It'll all change and adapt. Like what you said, like these virtual concerts ideas that people have been throwing out there. It's a great idea, and you could definitely people could make a lot of money off that. Trust me, there's people willing to spend the money to do. They were already throwing that idea with the holographic Tupac, a holographic Michael Jackson, which is sort of like a virtual reality kind of thing where you're there in person watching this virtual visualization of the artist in front of you.
Right.
And instead, when you do the headset, it's more immersive. Like people knee-jerk react to so much. Like when you watch these amateurs play the video games for the first time and they're falling on the floor, these people are getting injured. Like the guy broke his arm because he actually got scared by a monster.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, this could literally physically affect people. So music, imagine how immersive it is. Like if you're there at the concert with the headset on, but you're at the concert. And it doesn't look like a hologram. It looks like the real fucking thing.
You know how I always wanted to be able to teleport places. What they didn't tell you is you'll be able to teleport places, just not in the way we thought you would. It won't be molecules moving. You'll be able to just use your eyes and stuff. But no, I agree with you.
It's a completely different means to the end. You know what I mean? Like they're getting you there.
Yeah.
But it's exactly like you said, not the way that you thought. But and that's something I want to talk to you about today. Everything's going to change as far as because that was the first thing that happened was NBA's canceled, this tour's canceled, MLB's canceled, this artist is postponing their tour, this artist is canceling, this comedian is canceling his show. There was a whole bunch of stuff that was supposed to happen with, with comedians, and there was double shows. Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle were supposed to do, I think, something in Vancouver that got canceled. And there's a lot of highly anticipated events. The Olympics canceled. Everything postponed. So all this happened in a big wave at the beginning of March, and now it's like we're all trying to figure out how we're going to pass the time. And a lot of these artists and athletes have come through and actually pacify us for a little bit. Yeah. But what happens in the long run? What happens in the wake of COVID-19? What happens when everybody's healthy enough and everybody's been pretty much, for the most part, screened and this has been, controlled? And what new world are we living in as far as what you can't do, and with just pretty much specifically with live musical entertainment and things of the sort. Not even music. I mean, movies or sports. Just music alone. How is it going to recover? Is it going to be replaced by these live stream concerts? Because that's what I think is going to happen. I think a lot of world tours will be, hey guys, why don't we just stay in our hometown and play in front of all of our audience on a live stream, and they can comment while they're watching. Yeah. I think that's the way of the future. I mean, I'm not totally pumped for it, but I'm also not against it.
So first thing I want to do is I want to not disclaim that I am an expert, because everybody who is watching any news source or podcast or anything like that should be aware that anybody who's talking about something doesn't really fucking know shit. And I love
not an expert.
Not an expert. And I labeled this for that reason because that's what you wanted it to be, and it was a good idea. But I think that the fact that we have to state every single time you say a sentence now, everybody's got to state, well, in my opinion, I'm not an expert. If you think that someone telling you something knows something for a fact, you are a jerk off. And it pisses me off that we have to keep saying, I'm not an expert. This is just my opinion. Shut up. It should be understood. Yeah. It should be understood that nobody fucking knows.
It's the lemmings, they're going to follow, one person will just hear somebody say something and then just follow because they're too lazy to do their own research. Yeah. There's that. So, I mean,
to answer your question.
You're going to get a little bit of that, yeah.
To answer your question, so the first thing is this. When people ask this question, what do you think will be the future of this or that? What I don't think we're going to have this hard stop transition from one way of life to the other. Meaning, so the first question is, what do I think is going to happen with the coronavirus, and are they going to just let us out of our cages one day and life is going to go back to normal? It's not going to work like that. And I think that when we observe the way China does things, well, what they release that they do at least, and
what they did or how they handled it.
The other thing that I think a lot of people don't realize about China is their society is very different from ours. But I'll come back to that in a minute. Yeah. What we don't realize is the way we're used to living life, it's no more. Here's the thing. The coronavirus is a virus. So the reason why, and I've had many disagreements with many people, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, disclaimer, I'm no medical fucking authority, whatever. It's a virus. We all know that the flu is a virus. There's no cure for the flu. There are vaccines. We've been dealing with the flu for a very long time. We have the support within our medical facilities to be able to deal with it so that our hospitals don't get that overwhelmed that quick. Also, a lot of people have built up numerous amounts of immunity towards the flu. So obviously the reason we all know the coronavirus is different is because nobody has immunity and there's no cure and there's no virus, blah, blah, blah.
Well, with the flu also, there are asymptomatic carriers with the flu as well. They're within the same realm of the same disease, except one is a mutant Hulk version of
right.
I think, what was it? Was it SARS? SARS was another coronavirus? Yeah.
Mike, just so you know, because I see Mike comment that it is a virus. I don't know if I said that the coronavirus was not a virus or the flu was not a virus, my mistake. They're all viruses. But anyway, the point
Mark has a habit of misspeaking, everybody. But just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. That's why there's a poop emoji in my banner on YouTube. You there? You faded out for a second. Okay,
poop
I can
emoji?
hear you.
Yeah.
I can hear you now. So anyway, I think this is very gradual. I think that if and when when they start to open up small businesses, right? It'll be very gradual. Because the reason why the curve gotten flattened, at least in New York, I do have questions about Florida, but we'll get there. It's been flattened because of the precautions that we've been taking, but also they say the curve has been flattened. Any medical professional that you talk to will tell you they don't know how much the curve has really been flattened based on what they're seeing. Anyway, to go back to what you're saying, it's not going to be a hard stop of, oh my God, everything's back to normal, or, oh my God, one way or the other. It's going to be very gradual, right? That's how I see things working. So
well, you got to ease it in, like with a little Vaseline. You got to grease it up a little bit before
real slow.
Yeah, just take it easy.
Take it easy. So my hand puppet illustrations. But so to your point, I think that it's going to be slow. I think that this is going to be. So we've already seen one tremendous transition in our lives. We saw the internet. We saw when we were kids in like the early 2000s. We saw a slow transition from brick and mortar.
And the post 9/11 world also. Remember, everything changed after that too.
Yeah, but it was kind of gradual. It's never going to be like an absolute all right, you wake up one morning and everything is different. In this case,
like stop and then
in this case, it kind of was like that a little bit because you woke up one morning and people stopped going to work. That may have been the first time, probably in about a decade, that will ever happen.
I'll tell you what, I heard the breaks and I heard the hard record scratch. That's what I heard. As soon as they were like shut down, I was like, wow, this is real. This is real. I was like, and it all happened so fast. It escalated very quickly. Very quickly, as far as like what we were expecting, because there was an arrogance. There was an arrogance prior, earlier this year, right after New Year's, where there was like, oh well, it's it's there, it's only there, and then Italy got it bad, and then it was like, holy crap, Italy got it bad. All right, maybe we should take it easy a little bit, and try to think this out. And it's like, boom, you got coronavirus, and now New York has more cases than some whole countries, and and it's getting really bad up there. And, I know you're there. I have friends like you and family members who are reporting back to me, telling me that it's like, wow, the streets are like as if there was a massive blizzard like 2011, but there's no snow on the ground. Nobody's out. The hospitals are overwhelmed. You're having the Hasidic community are still holding weddings and funerals, and there's an overwhelming of cases in Maimonides Hospital that happens to be in one of those Hasidic Orthodox Jewish neighborhoods. And all these stories you're hearing from New York about all the problems that they had with ventilators in Queens at the very beginning. And it's scary because it's like, wow, this is like the movies. It is like Outbreak. It is like, 28 days later, but, like not that exaggerated. I'm not saying, that it's going to get that bad. And obviously, I have a lot of confidence in our resilience as human beings, as biological beings, for overcoming this, because we have overcome plagues in the past. And this isn't a plague. It is bad. But, we can fight this. We can do the smart thing. We have more knowledge. We're way more sanitary than we ever were in the past when we were plagued by other diseases, bloodborne, airborne, or whatever. And we've come through. We are the surviving ancestors of these people who survived all these plagues. So why can't we have the ability to do this as well? And you know what? The truth is fact that health has a lot to do with this. And this should be a wake-up call to a lot of people out there, especially in America, in our country, that just want to continue to ignore, lifestyle changes that could benefit them in a case like this. Okay, we're not fat shaming you, saying you need 6-pack abs. We just want you to survive the next plague, dude. You don't gotta fucking push it, man. We're not asking you to look like a fitness model. We're asking you to just check yourself before something invades your body and destroys you, and you can't fight it off because you're not fit enough to do so. It is sad that it did affect a lot of elderly people. A lot of them are recovering now. With all the horror stories, there's still a lot of hopeful stories coming out of this, and that's why I think business will go back to it'll be business as usual in a couple of years. We may not be shaking hands, but we will still be in a commercial system in the future, social commercial system.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be different. So, I guess you could say like the internet. So, for example, right?
Yeah.
Back to your initial thing about artists and the way they make money. I think that one thing that you're going to start to see a lot of is you're going to start to see a lot of not virtual. I guess it would be called virtual concerts or whatever, like Zoom concerts and stuff like that. And I think that what you're going to see a lot of is you're going to start to see a lot of promoters, almost like guys who used to, or people who used to promote to go into clubs or whatever. You're going to see them start to put money into ads and content and different platforms trying to drive traffic. into getting people to see these Zoom or whatever platform like shows or whatever.
It's going to change their business. They're going to have to adapt to be relevant. You know, like in that industry.
It's going to be interesting though, because I don't. So you would actually know a lot more about this than I would. I know that when you put on a show as an artist, there are some costs, just like any business, because being in a band, like traveling, is a business.
Scare money don't make money. You got to put money in it to get money out of it.
No, so it's a business. So you guys, I'm sure, have to pay to get your merch out there, or maybe even for stage time. I don't know how that works, and I'll let you explain in just a second. But I would imagine, but I do know how it works online. How it works online is you have to pay for Facebook advertising. You have to know how to create an ad that will drive traffic. It's a number of things, and then you're going to want to charge for tickets and stuff like that. So I don't know how expensive it is in person, but if it's that much cheaper online to get this done, which with the supply and demand, the way that it works, I have a feeling it'll sort of balance out, because the more people demand to take out ad space on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, or any platform, even on LinkedIn, whatever, the more the cost of advertising will go up. So it might equal out to what any cost that would have been incurred in person in concerts. But I have a feeling, at least, that the ticket prices will go down for these like online concerts.
Oh, for sure, dude. Even sporting events are going to get cheaper. 100%. Everything is going to be cheaper because, like, you're going to be like, all right, rolling. I got to go. Okay, let's just say I got to go to this. I got to go to this Crew concert. Fuck Motley Crue anyway, but let's just say I got to go to this Crew concert. Their real final farewell tour that, obviously is not going down because of the Rona. And this is happening. I got to go. Motherfucker, I've been out of work for 4 months. You think I'm going to pay the fucking $300 that you wanted me to pay originally? Nah, motherfucker. I'll give you $75 to watch you. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to be competitive. Nobody's going to want to see them, and they're going to go and want to see Disturbed, because Disturbed's concert's only $40. They're just as big. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to go to watch Five Finger Death Punch for fucking $25, because these bands are going to be the ones that aren't going to try to get greedy. And they're going to want to just get the fuck back out there, because real musicians want to play. You want to get out there.
You know what? I almost take it back. I don't mean to cut you off, but I almost take it back. You may not have to. Well, okay. So to me, it's like, why would you pay money to see a concert in person? You pay money to see a concert in person, not just because of like the energy's there, but also to physically be closer to the band. There's like a certain psychology behind, like, oh my God, Ryan.
There's a connection. There's a connection. A live connection.
There's a live connection. You're not going to get that. Even with the VR glasses, you're probably not going to get that. But what I could definitely see happening in the very near future is a platform like Pandora, a platform like Spotify that has these bands all playing. I could see them putting on shows. Now, these are platforms that already the artists are monetized. Like, they're getting paid for their content if they're getting enough views. So what I could see is that the platforms themselves raising the premiums a little bit to the users, and then the platforms maybe paying the content creators more based on how many views they get and things like that. I could see those platforms adapting to bring live, because they're already perfectly set up for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're already there. They're already there. And they already streaming devices the way that you just explained it. They already do this. Like Hulu has a premium. YouTube has a premium. Everybody's got like this. So you can get premium service for extra $5 a month. So for an extra, let's just say I have Spotify. My Spotify has, and I'm locked in on the $10.99, and I get access to everything, downloads, unlimited downloads and stuff. And let's just say they approach me and they're like, for an extra $2.99 a month, you get 5 artists live performances a month for an extra $2.99. And I could watch my Lamb of God concert on X date. I could watch my Zakk Wylde concert on X date. I could watch my Wu-Tang Clan concert on X date. And I got like 5 artists that I could literally go to 5 concerts a month for $3. It's insane, because it's all you would need. Everybody, like I said, would get a piece, because you're reaching a broader audience. Like I said, Dropkick Murphys was performing to 1 million+ people in stream. They were going to play to 6,000 people originally that same day. How many more people are you connecting to? And the people paid the $50 or $60 to watch them on Paddy's Day, because it's an experience. You get the pipes and all that. It's an experience. You're immersed in the Irish American culture, and you were still able to get some of that via live stream. But now you're reaching 1 million people who are all partying together at home, and it sort of unifies you also. You're not smelling the sweat and the beer and the rusty guitar strings and the fucking, the steam in the air at a live concert, but you are home and you know that other people are cheering with you, even more people than originally would. And as an artist, you don't have to charge these people $60 a head. If they watched you for $3 a piece, which is a fucking bargain to watch a live show that you're only going to see once, an hour and a half set that you don't even know what the set list is going to be. It could be a secret set list. So surprise, you're playing this song, so it's extra special. $3 a piece times a million, you made $3 million fucking dollars, as opposed to the fucking $100,000 you might have made to play that live concert that night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can do whatever with it, and a lot of other people, their hands will be fucking greasy afterwards too. So a lot of people, there's a lot of money to be made to do live concerts, live stream. You know, you are losing, like you said, that live element, but it's still in a way live. It's just not, it's not tangible. Like you can't touch it, but you can feel it. At least.
So I agree with you 100%. It'll be an interesting mix. Listen, we will socialize again at some point. We will go back out into the world. And to an extent, because I've seen Mike on the Nothing Network talk about this, and I definitely agree with him to an extent. We all absolutely need to build up immunity. The reason, and I'll stress this again, the reason why we're all on these stay-home orders is really because our healthcare just can't support the influx, and also so the elderly don't die that fast at the same time. Save lives to people with weakened immune systems. But anyway, people don't want to hear about that shit anymore. So to the artistic standpoint, here's I was thinking about this recently. What I think is really interesting.
It's like beating a dead horse that died from the Rona. It's like beating a dead horse that died from the Rona. That's what it's like.
Yeah. What I think is interesting. So first of all, one easy prediction to make right now is that the big networks, Fox, CBS, all these news networks, CNN, meaning they fucking die down. Because who watches them anymore? Our parents' generation watches them. Now, they are smart. They are putting themselves on fucking the internet. But everybody from our generation, and every single Facebook feed I've seen, everybody that shares a fucking article, and this happens to me every time I post an article from Bloomberg, from CBS, people will say, stop fear-mongering, stop spreading misinformation, because nobody trusts the news anymore.
Yeah, nobody. I don't.
Nobody trusts the news.
Logically, why would you? If you see everything for how it really is, like why would you? Fox or CNN, both polls, both sides. You can't.
There's really one person that's been reporting the news to us that I actually trust, but because you can tell, you can smell that he's being fucking honest, and that's Governor Cuomo. Cuomo, I don't know if you've seen him talk.
He's doing a good job, man. Listen, I wasn't a big fan of his before I left the city of New York because I hated fucking not Bloomberg. I'm sorry, Bill De Blasio. Warren Wilhelm. And he was Cuomo was part of that super liberal New York elite and stuff like that. But the thing is, he is a different kind of guy. He is. And I felt that about him, but you also politically, when you're part of a party, you have to go with the flow sometimes. So you knew that he was just going with it. But as far as a leader, he's way more, assertive and in control as some people in higher seats of office. He's doing a really good job with respect to the situation, because it's not an easy situation to deal with, and you're going to have failures here and there. But what are you going to do? But I'm liking how he's handling the situation. And you know what I was saying too before, about media. A lot of people like to use the term traditional media because now we have the internet, all different news outlets and stuff like that. But I like my term, and my term is antiquated media because it is antiquated. The fashion
100%.
is an ancient way of doing it. It was short-lived. It had a good long run for about 80 years, but this isn't the way you need to, hand out information now, because once you have it influenced by agenda, you lose the nobility of giving people information.
To be honest with you, I think the next medium that we use for a real news source outlet is just something that's sort of a general consensus chosen by the public. And I think those are sources on YouTube. I think those are sources that people see for what they are. Like, what I was going to say is, I'm not really into politics. I'm starting to get more into it a little bit because I want to have an understanding of really how things work, because we are, as we can see, we're definitely affected by a lot of this shit. But I said Cuomo for one reason, and that's really because you can smell the fact through the camera that he's being real, and he's saying, listen, I really don't know. Like, we don't know what to tell you. Like, this has never happened before, you know? And the funny thing is, I think that Trump is being real too, but I think that Trump's real is a very, very...
He has no choice. He has no choice now because shit hit the fan.
Yeah, he really doesn't. But
there's no more apprentice character anymore right now, and you can see that there's a little bit of, like, you know, and I'm not complimenting him. Don't get this wrong, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit more rationale in what he chooses to say, even though he's still slipping up. He's still Trump. Trump's still Trump. That's just how he is. But you know, like, you can tell, like, he's definitely taking this a lot more seriously than he ever had taken anything else seriously before, since he started running for office. But yeah, it's noticeable.
I just you had sent me some questions before, and I just wanted to take another look at it. And you asked me the question of what do I think is going to happen to paper currency.
Yeah, that's a big. I've been thinking a lot about that.
So I think that some people might expect me to reference Bitcoin or anyone else cryptocurrencies. I think that right now those spaces are too undefined. And first of all, they're not stable enough. You know, those like currencies are always fluctuating. So you can't really buy a house or any purchase and have that value. Like, I can't buy your house with a Bitcoin and have that value be stable tomorrow. You don't know if you'll be losing half the value of your house in like overnight.
Right.
So that wouldn't work.
Oh yeah. That would be disastrous. That would be disastrous.
Wouldn't work.
If that happened to several houses, even in the neighborhood, could bring the value down in the neighborhood.
Right.
You know, like, yeah.
What I think.
Continue.
So when it comes to paper currency, I think that paper currency began to make its exit strategy as soon as banks started coming out with a debit card. I think that this is a catalyst to expedite us stopping to use paper currency even more.
Well, that's the thing. Let me refine the question.
Yeah.
We knew that it was already on the outs, right? Like, having known that, right? We not this. What I didn't want to get confused is that I didn't want to ask if this event is the reason why paper currency is going on. We knew it was on the way out before for all those reasons that you stated.
Right.
What I wanted to know about your opinion, if you think it's going to, like,
just end.
Seriously expedite the process. Like, not just expedite the process, but push it way fast forward into just becoming obsolete. Because I'll tell you what dawned on me. I have the same bills in my money clip, where I don't carry wallet anymore because they're bulky, you know what I mean? And I used to, though, but I would say wallet. But in the clip, I'm looking at these bills, like, I haven't touched these. And now I'm thinking about, I was listening to a podcast about people talking about the exchange of money and the transmission of this and all this from person to person from paper money, and how, as a health risk, paper money is sort of, and it was like, you know, like, I remember being a little kid, I had a penny in my mouth. My mom was like, get that out of your mouth. And I'm like, I didn't understand why. I'm like, why, Ma? It's a fucking penny. She's like, do you know how many hands have been on that? You know? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, like, and then you're like, oh, yeah. And then you having that idea, and it's like, oh, yeah, this gets, you know, so many things that pass. It's just a hooker's ass crack. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, these dollar bills have been everywhere. You know, so you could be getting all sorts of fucking diseases, not just the Rona. So I'm like, you know what? Time to say get out of paper money altogether. I know what it was for. It was to track, you know, the exchange of gold on the market when you had to, people couldn't carry around gold blocks, you know, in their fucking purse or their satchel. So, you know, they had to have a note to represent it, and these banknotes became what everybody's just been exchanging for the last couple of 100 years. But it is an obsolete way of exchanging money. And now, as a health risk, it's really, you're going to be like, when we were kids, we remember adjusting an antenna on top of our television. That's something that you'll never do ever. You'll never do that again. We'll be 50 years old, me and you, being like, hey, Mark, we'll never exchange a dollar bill between us ever again. When we played poker with each other, It's going to be a Venmo exchange, or it's going to be a PayPal exchange, or it's going to be a Zelle exchange. We're never going to give each other cash ever again because of this. And me and you will be sitting together when we're 50 and be like, bro, that's something that's dead and gone. We'll never do that again. That's an ancient thing. It's like when our parents said that they had to drive a car without power steering. You'll never do that ever again. That's something you'll never do again. So it's like, that was my question to you. If you honestly think that this is going to expedite, like in a year or two, we won't have paper currency anymore?
So you just gave me, as I was listening to you, I was thinking about a lot. Lately I've been sort of prefacing in my head, what's old is new and what's new is old. So I had a conversation with a friend yesterday who told me, he owns one business, and he was like, yeah, I just bought another business. And it was a milk delivery route. And I was like, those exist? He was like, yeah, and they're coming back now more than ever because people can't get shit anymore. And in my head, I was like, what's old is new. And to me, I was just like, interesting. Okay, so what is money? Money is like, so for example, right, if every single human being in this country went to take out every dollar they had in the bank, they couldn't do it. It wouldn't happen. Because the banks don't have that kind of, they'd have to print. They'd have to print trillions.
They don't have it. They don't have the paper currency to back it.
Money is fictitious shit that it's just a barter. It's just something we all agree because the government said this is what we're going to use. And we're like, all right, well, you guys have guns and shit. So I guess we'll go with this. You guys are in, it is what it is. They might have, we might see some sort of like an actual like uprising one day. I don't know. But besides all that stuff, I think, so if you ever watch Rich Dad, the Rich Dad podcast with Robert Kawasaki, I think his name is.
Don't think I have.
I'll send it to you. He talks about a lot of really interesting points. And one of them is where we could be going is gold at the end of the day. If what's old is new and what's new is old.
No, like really going back to OG status.
Maybe.
The blooms, silver and gold.
It really depends. It really depends on what happens with our government. So I don't know enough about history. You probably know more about the shit than I do. But it really depends.
I'm not an expert, but I'm sort of read. I don't say well read. I say, yeah, I'm sort of read in the topic.
You're well read. Well read will depend on how much you obtain and the opinions that you derive from it. But I think you're pretty well read and have a pretty open perspective on all this stuff. But anyway, to me, it's like you have to look to see in the history before what other catalysts have taken us where. So, for example, when I was looking at the markets, because I follow the markets a decent amount, I was just like, could this be a catalyst for the next Great Depression? Because to me, it's like there's a lot of people out there saying, well, the market's just going to bounce back up. It's possible. It could happen. This could be a great correction, and it bounces back up, and we all go back to being merry. Is it likely? I doubt it, but I just don't think it's going to be that simple.
I'll tell you why it won't. Because with the market crash, with that sparked the Great Depression, and also with the real estate crash in the early 2000s.
2008,
What happened before that, there was an age of prosperity. And there were global events that contributed. There were global events that contributed, but like they weren't, it was more like the butterfly effect with these global events to where it's like, yes, they could have started a domino effect that would have popped the bubble that was created by the prosperity. But ultimately, the bubble's going to pop anyway. Who gives a fuck what causes it to pop? The bubble's created already. And its purpose is to pop, to go back down, because other people profit off that. They profit off that massive loss. You do get people who jump out of buildings during a stock market crash, but a lot of these people are the people who are responsible for the lost money that's not theirs. They're jumping out the window because they don't want HR douchebag Smith III to fucking ruin his life, so I might as well just kill myself because I lost $200 million of his money. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so a lot of the people who are ultimately affected by it are not even the people at the higher end of the totem pole. So there was a huge bubble in the 1920s that was bound to burst. They didn't have these fail-safes put into play because of what we have now with modern technology that could have probably prevented that, or probably made an algorithm to figure out that this could have been predicted so that they could have lessened the blow, because sometimes it's inevitable. And in the real estate situation, there was also a bubble created as well, And the way that they were giving out fucking loans and the zero money down and the variable interest rate thing fucked a lot of people. Like when they offered me variable interest rate for the very first house that I purchased and the second one, I was like red light, no, we're doing fixed rate, and that's it. There's fixed rate, that's it. No, not fucking with any sort of variable rate. And I don't give a fuck how much less you're telling me to put down. I'd rather work harder, make more money, and have a solid investment that's secure than to have something that can totally fuck me and fuck my credit without even doing anything wrong. It's not like I bought a Lamborghini. It's like, oh shit, the rate just decided to change, and now I fucking owe more a month, and I can't afford to cover my mortgage. So anyway, that being said, there was a bubble created. There was a bubble created. Right now, there's a bubble that's still expanding. This was not, I don't think, is not enough to really collapse anything because nothing's built up enough for it to collapse. But if this did happen 3 years from now, that could have been possible catastrophic. I think now we can bounce back and we have a chance to have a second lease on the economy because I feel like everyone's going to run out of their house and spend money immediately. People are going to fucking spend so much fucking money that even that could cause a fucking bubble to be created.
Kind of, yeah. So to go back to the currency thing, because every time we start talking, I gain a little bit more perspective and different ideas on it. Maybe gold. Will cash become a thing of the past? Yeah, probably eventually. It's always something new. It will go out and we'll just be using our cards or whatever. Cash will be useless eventually. But also, here's something else that because a different podcast, I was talking to my friend Artem, and he's pretty well networked. He's an entrepreneur. He's dealt recently with a lot of large companies like Facebook and Amazon and stuff like that. Those are his clients, or at least some of them.
Yeah.
And the points that he made were essentially, what's wrong with government? And forget about
That's a long list, Mark.
Right. So I'll abbreviate the question. One big thing that's not good with government is their ability to adapt to newer technology. So, for example, listen, man, why the fuck don't we have a platform where we can vote without going to these fucking ballots? You mean to tell me nobody can do this and make sure this shit's secure? Bullshit. You're full of shit. It's that they don't understand.
It's a hot button topic.
And until somebody advises me, this is why. I think the reason why is because they haven't found a good enough tech team. And I'm not saying that I'm that person. I'm probably not. But I know there are people out there that can do this, that can build a tech that everybody's okay with, that everybody can comply with, and that can fix it. Here's what I'm seeing from the corona crisis. I'm seeing when Governor Cuomo said that essentially every state had to go to the president, to the White House separately, and or to whatever vendor is separately to sort of bid for, these PPE supplies. That told me, holy shit, you mean to tell me there's no platform, online platform, whatever, internal, that you guys can just deal with, that FEMA is in charge of? Their technology is out of date. And I do know that that's pretty factual. And once their technology becomes more up to date, you're going to see so much more stuff change. And at that point, you might see blockchain come into effect. Now, here's what I really think. What I really think is, I think there's a lot to be said for, one second, dry the throat.
You're giving yourself cotton mouth with all this money talk.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said for all the people who come up with theories that say government is bad and they suck and blah, blah, blah. I think there's substance to some of it. I think that there's a lot of different ways you can look at it, and it's a very complex topic. But what I will say is, I think that the more the older generation fizzles out, because the older generation was built on, we're going to watch TV, we're going to listen to the radio. And these newscasters, these are the people telling us what's good for us. Our politicians, they know best. That was our parents' generation.
You would think, yeah.
That's to me at least, based on what I've observed, that's our parents' generation. A lot of them at least, not all, but a lot. Our generation is, we know better. We know that a lot of people don't know shit. And one big facilitator to me at least, one big facilitator of us now realizing that people don't know shit is guys like Joe Rogan, who we know has an audience, who we know has associations with people that are highly intelligent, that have legitimately done work in these environments, like Edward Snowden came on. And if anybody else would have said the things that Edward Snowden said, I would have said, yeah, they're probably full of shit. But Eddie said that? Good old Snowden said that shit? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
bro. I'm gonna be inclined to believe this guy, you know? And
Yeah,
so,
I love that. I love that cast. That podcast was like everybody was anticipating to hear something from this guy for years, and he was almost forgotten, and like when he did that podcast with Joe Rogan, I was like, it taught me a lot. Also about I was totally ignorant to the fact of what else was influencing world politics and
a
geopolitical
lot of us are very ignorant to it.
economics and stuff like that. And I had no idea about a lot of these things. And
Right.
now it makes sense why he's got to fucking live. He can't come back, because they were like.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was going to say, there's a lot of things that as I have grown in my career and networked and met with different people, the reason I don't give like substantial opinions on a lot of shit anymore is because there's just so much about things that you don't know that you don't know. And until you work in them, like, for example, a film shoot, me and a friend.
And also, people who don't know get very emotional. They get
don't
so
know.
emotional
They don't
because they don't know.
They don't know that they don't know because they haven't been through it. That's the
There you go.
Right. They haven't been through the shit, so they don't realize the little things that would deter a movie from getting made, that would deter an election from fucking happening. They speculate, which is fine.
Right. It's all speculation.
A lot
That's
of it
right.
is. A lot of it is. But anyway, to sort of wrap up this topic of like the whole currency and government and all this, I think that when we figure out ways to use the internet in the best way possible to create an infrastructure that we can all use in a way that we can really truly live in more harmony, that we can figure out a solution for the healthcare system where you have guys preaching one side is just like we should have free healthcare, you should never have to go without healthcare, and you have the other side saying, but I'm a doctor and I know how things work, and that's bullshit. It's not that it's bullshit, it's just that like I'd like to see you come up with a plausible way. Like, do you know what challenges you're going to face to create a free healthcare system? And like the politicians are like, well, we're going to figure it out. And at least to the way what I'm hearing from it, and these other other people are like, you don't know because you're not in the healthcare system. You haven't fought that battle long enough to really make an argument of how you're going to do it without, like Bernie Sanders. How would you get free healthcare and free fucking education? He was talking about putting a tax, some sort of an additional tax on Wall Street. That was, to me, the first catalyst for Wall Street starting to see a correction. I thought it was a coronavirus, but it was Bernie. So there's just so many things that people don't realize. But once we can get, and I've been saying this for a little while now, what we need to do is we need to get, I don't want to say the smartest people in the room. I want to say the most experienced people. I want to see the most people who have gone through the shit.
The most logical.
The most logical and the most experienced in their field people in the same room and say, these are literally the challenges that we faced. These are the challenges that we faced for all this shit. How do we, for example, how do we fix the healthcare system? How do we have a proper election? Because right now, we will never have a proper election the way we're having it. I'll be honest with you, and a lot of people are going to dislike me for saying this. A lot of people are going to dislike this, Ryan. I don't think most of us should have the right to vote, but it's not because I don't believe in freedom of opinion or anything like that. I think it's because most of us aren't educated in how it's like this. You get me, you, and all the people we used to hang out with 5-6 years ago in a room, right? And we need the head of medicine for Staten Island Hospital. We need to elect the head of medicine for Staten Island Hospital, right? And you put a bunch of fucking retards in a room. They're like, do bullshit jobs. You give them a resume.
You can't say retard anymore, Mark. Yeah, see, you make me fucking say it.
BigCritique. I don't get it. Like, listen, I tell people, I don't want you to subscribe if you're not going to like my content. If I'm not providing you value, I won't be upset at all. Don't subscribe. I get it. I do. Anyway, the point is, listen, I'll sit here until I fucking find the people that, we find value in each other. That's that, But anyway, the point is, if you get me and you and everybody else we used to hang out with in a room, and you ask,
and we have to make that decision.
And we have to make that decision. Head of the hospital based on a resume, that hospital's gonna go to shit real quick. And that's exactly how we're hiring the president of the fucking United States of America. And this is why we consistently fail, because we don't know enough of what we don't know. But more so than that, the candidates that we're hiring, they don't even know what they don't know. Because when they say, I want to do this and I want to do that, great example, Mike Bloomberg was running for president. I saw that he wanted to ban cigarettes. And 100%. Obviously, I'm all for that. I smoked for 10 years. They should be banned, no doubt. The first thing I thought to myself is, that's great, but what challenges does he know he's going to face to do this? Practically speaking, you got to look at it like this. That's a topic, or most of these topics are a topic that, if they were so easy to solve, you don't think somebody would have done it already? Give me a break. So it's like, to me, there's just so much we don't know that we don't know. And to hire a president, to do this, to do that, what we need to do is we need to phase the older generation out of office. It's nothing personal, but that's my opinion on it. And we need to get people. We need to use the technology that we've been like, procuring and bettering and getting better understanding.
I don't agree, and I'm not. I was a smoker for a very long time too, and I quit. I'm not a smoker anymore. I don't agree with this with outlawing cigarettes, but I do agree with phasing out older politicians and letting the younger generation run the country. And I don't mean young generation. I'm not telling you to vote to elect a 20-year-old. I'm saying, how about the 50-year-old senator or the 45-year-old congresswoman? Or you understand what I'm saying? Instead of having these 80-year-olds, because look at Joe Biden, man, he's fucking losing it. The guy cannot even put a sentence together. And your other option right now is going to be Donald Trump, which we see how that's working out. And I'm not discrediting him, because Donald Trump may have had his successes in office, but mostly his experience as far as being an American, watching everything unfold before my eyes, has been a PR failure, and he is not friends or relatable with the American people like other presidents had been in the past. Because even though they were super rich, they brought themselves down to like an average American level. Like even George W. Bush was more relatable than Donald Trump ever would be, and he had his fluctuations and approval ratings as well. But I never voted for him. The two elections, I voted for Gore and I voted for John Kerry.
Right.
I would love to hang out with the guy. I think he might be one of the coolest fucking presidents ever to have lived. Policies, no. George W. Bush.
Oh, sorry, I misheard you.
I agree with, but I would love to have a beer with the fucking dude and hang out with him and paint some fucking portraits at his ranch in Texas. I would love to. You know what I mean? But he had a way to connect with your average American fellow or woman. It was possible for him to be likable. It is very difficult to get Donald Trump to be likable. And I understand that that's not important, because he says he's off the cuff. He says what he feels and all that stuff. And we need a president like that. Everybody's saying that. That's great. Drain the swamp. I'm cool with all that, but I don't agree with a lot of the policies that he's backing, because they're not his values. They're the values of all the other cronies in the hierarchy and in the oligarchy who are telling him to support these things so he can get the votes and pander for votes. Like any other good politician would do, pander for votes. Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. I like to consider myself a member of the hardcore middle. I am a staunch middle. I'm not left. I'm not right. I hate those fucking terms. I feel like it's failing us now the further we get into our American politics. And in a situation like the coronavirus, that even still in a moment where politicians are being like, there's no partisanship with this. This is something that we're both, as parties, tackling together. You still have a little bit of bipartisan politics going on here and there. And you still get your, to be quite honest with you, I will, in the same sentence, fuck Trump and fuck Nancy Pelosi in the same sentence. I'll say fuck Biden and fuck Pence in the same sentence. You'll hear me say that. You'll never hear me say fuck Bernie, but I also don't agree with all of his politics also. And because my biggest problem is that he was a great civil rights activist as far as his beliefs and his morale and his morality goes. But aside from him having all this experience in government and in representing his state of Vermont, who's to say that he's an expert in healthcare also? You know what I mean? Should be the ones who should be handling this. The Surgeon General should be handling stuff like this. Like, you're going to need people with medical experience to actually give you the real insight on the healthcare system, as opposed to like a politician who, I believe in Bernie Sanders as being a humble and good human being, but he is also off, and he does also have money, and he does also realize that he could afford to pay the high taxes, but a lot of other people in his financial position don't want to give up a cent.
So
And he's making enemies on people who could probably help him get into office. By the DNC's cut him off so many fucking times because to office, he's taxing their fucking asses. Politics is legal mafia. It's legal mob. That's what politics is. So if you're going to piss off another mob boss and they're not going to help you bring in your product, you know what I mean? You're fucked. You're never going to make it, Bernie. And it's sad. And it's everybody's too old. Trump is too old. Clinton's too old. Biden's too old. I said this on Mike's podcast the other day that I hope that we could actually reform our political system and have a dual executive. And I would love it to be, I think his name is Dan Crenshaw, the representative from Texas, and Tulsi Gabbard. You could have a Republican and a Democrat, both fucking military veterans, both in their 30s, both, like willing to come to the middle to work on issues, but both with their very hardline political views within it that I think they could come to terms with how to run this country, to have like a yin and a yang kind of presidential body, as opposed to having one omnipotent president who's I say I could fire whoever I want. And you just can't have somebody like that. And we're failing by, our parents were telling us to go to our room when we were being disobedient. Now I think it's our time to tell our parents to go to their fucking rooms and stop fucking everything. It's our world now. You could call me, you're just, how younger you are than me? Yeah, I am. But do you remember how old the fuck you were when you were 38 years old? Do you remember how old and mature you were? You had however many fucking kids you had. You could tell and boss around whoever the fuck you wanted. Well, now it's our turn. And we're going to start bossing you the fuck around. You want to go to Shady Pines? We'll send you to fucking Shady Pines. Like fucking, like in Golden Girls. Because that's what's going to fucking happen if you stop voting for assholes.
I want to backtrack to something for a second.
Listen, you got to stop voting for assholes because that's what you're doing left and right.
I want to
over. Anyway, that's my rant, Mark.
I love it. No, it was great. It was really entertaining, and it was pretty. There's a lot of substance to that, but I want to backtrack to something you said. So you brought up Trump being in presidency, and we put him there because some people thought he was the best choice at the time, whatever. So I'm going to link you, and I'll probably share it from my BigCritique profile on Facebook. I'm going to link you to a video that this he's a pretty big Facebook and Instagram whatever influencer. His name is Nas Daily. He made a video about Trump being elected and why he got into office. And I think he did a really good job. So this is the clip notes on the video. First, so the question is why? How did this happen, right? Do people want him in office or not? So what he did was, this guy, he went to rallies where Trump was there, Marco Rubio, and some other people, whatever, right? So
Republican elite, probably.
So, yeah, something like that. So what he showed was he really pointed out why, as humans, we follow, like using your emotional intelligence, why we follow somebody or favor somebody more than others. He showed this person was boring as shit to listen to. This person sounded too political. When Trump came on stage, there was music playing.
Rockstar.
He didn't use
cult of personality, Mark.
He didn't use big fancy words like employment. He said, we're going to open up jobs. We're going to do this. Very basic human language. Shit that will get your energy going. It was very basic stuff. You'll see he always does this with his hands. Ready?
Mark, this is why I talk with my hands, because you're not going to listen to me unless I'm throwing my hands over. This is very New York, Mark. Like we're from a place where, this means something and that means something and this and that, and,
all of these notions that we're doing subconsciously talk to people, and most people don't realize it. They transfer emotion through a screen, in a crowd, whatever. And that is how Donald Trump, understanding, we make decisions, bro. We make decisions, and I think you would agree with me on this. We make decisions not usually based on logic, Unless we are
On
intelligent,
emotion.
we make them
On
on
emotion.
emotion. And unless you are emotionally intelligent to understand that, and I myself personally, I know that I've only gotten more emotionally intelligent in the last few years since I moved out of my parents' house and I came to realizations on my own. Before that,
The growing experience. Yeah.
growing experience. When I lived at home, when we were hanging out all the time, I had zero emotional intelligence. I didn't understand anything of what I was doing. And when people tried to explain that to me, I just thought they were being dicks. But really, they just saw things for what they were, and I didn't yet, which is fine. The point is, we do the things that we do because of the things that we feel. And so why did Trump come into office? I think Trump came into office because he made people feel a certain type of way. Not because of what he did, not because of the speeches that he gave or the words that he said, but because of the way he said everything. The way, the joy he brought to people, and the way he got your blood going when you went to see him. That's why probably Trump is in office. Because if you saw the people, like the footage of people going into those like conferences, and when they came out, they going in, they were like, da, 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 da. Coming out, they were like, yeah, whoa, Trump.
Yeah, all pumped. Yeah.
You know, that's the exact reason why guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, like fucking, what's his name, Tony Robbins, like all these emotional speaking guys.
Motivational speakers, yeah.
I went to one of these networking events. I wanted to just get an idea of maybe I could meet somebody in a business line, shit like that. And I learned something. When I was there, somebody said to me, like a friend of mine knew I was there, and they were like, oh my God, you're like 5 feet away from Tony Robbins. You must be so excited. All that I did when I was there is I thought to myself, like, this is insane. People spend hundreds of dollars for 2 hours to see this guy say something on stage. He danced around on stage. I understood the psychology. I get it. I do. And when I went to my fiance, I went with her. I was like, you know better than this. Why did you want to go to this? And she was like, to be honest, I kind of wanted to see if there was some sort of nugget that I would get like trigger on. Anything that they could have said that would have given me some sort of insight. And I was like, and that's fine. And I get that. I do. We look for like little ways, like little nuances.
You never know. It could work for some.
You never know, and that's great. And I was all for it. I went with her. We had a good time. But to me, I'm realizing more and more as we get older, why do people become successful? How do you influence? How do you do that? Well, you do that in the way that you talk, in the way that you like put yourself out there, and by understanding the way in which you're coming off to other people. And that is why my next point is going to be, a lot of people are afraid that from all of this automation, artificial intelligence, and this and that is going to kill jobs. As I said before, we're going to adapt. We're going to adapt, and we're going to get better. Will some people get screwed? Darwinism, baby. Survival of the fucking fittest. That's going to be true.
Survival of the fittest. Yeah.
Survival of the fittest. But the people that thrive the most, the people that get the positions in management, it's going to have nothing to do with your education. And if you think by going to college, that is going to give you a leg up, you're sadly mistaken, because the truth is, we can all learn. Bro, you can get a fucking Harvard degree literally online for free. Doesn't matter anymore. But what most people can't do is understand the emotions of other people and control their own to some degree, because you're never going to be able to control when you really get excited. In your head in that moment, that rant you just had, you weren't thinking, how am I going to regulate how happy or sad I am right now? You were thinking, I want to get my entire thought out. It's almost impossible to think to yourself in the moment when your blood is rushing and your adrenaline is going, how can I bring myself down? It's really hard to do that.
It's hard to articulate when you're running like a revving engine though sometimes.
It's really difficult.
I totally agree. Yeah.
But as an artist and as someone who's been on stage before, you definitely have an understanding of emotional intelligence and of the fact that EQ, emotional intelligence, is probably your best bet of getting good employment in the future, getting those leadership positions, stuff like that. Of
course, yeah, because it catches the eye. And like I was talking about the cult of personality before, I had a coworker who was a Trump supporter. Not one of the brightest in the bunch, but like he was a Trump supporter, and this to no way to offend him, but he was he had his political ideals and stuff, which everybody's entitled to, and he was going to the rally. It was a Trump rally, and I'm like, all right, and this is after he's been elected. This is recent. I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, I got tickets to the rally, and he's talking about it like a concert, and he's like so pumped to go. And I'm like, so what is he going to talk about? He's like, I don't give a fuck, man. I just want to see Trump, because it's like, that's,
It's like this
in some mentalities, it's like you think like that. People voted for Ronald Reagan because they loved his movies. If people voted for Barack Obama because he wrote a book. You know what I mean? Like people will vote for people just because of these shallow reasons.
Yeah, man. So
and it's sort of corrupted politics and stuff like that because a lot of people have their ideals and stuff that they just ignore just to vote for somebody.
So
like a lot of conservatives, like they had that talk with themselves saying, I know he's a womanizer and I know he's not really the fundamental good Christian man. We need to do what's right for good Christian America. And, or some people will just vote for him because he's an old white man who has conservatives backing him. They know he's not a conservative. They know that he's not kind of like super moral guy. Grabbing him by the pussy and stuff doesn't scream morality. But people will be swayed by just somebody having that it factor, and unfortunately, some politicians have that kind of personality that regardless of how bad their policies are, they'll get the attention, they'll get the votes just because of the way they articulate and the way that they present themselves and the way that they approach topics that people feel very, like you said, emotional, ready to make an emotional decision about it. And that's how he ended up there.
Yeah.
But
so
as it stands right now, I guess our country is going to be a different place, in the coming future once all this clears out and stuff like that. And there's a brave new world for us to look forward to, and things are going to be different. And I'm really happy I started doing this live cast shit with you guys. This is fucking great. I love being able to express my opinion with my friends and having everybody the opportunity to get in on the conversation, if not vicariously, then through the comments. Maybe you'll have me back on sometime in the future. We can shoot the shit about it.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Fantastic.
As a matter of fact, we've been talking for about an hour now, and I really should have done this earlier, but we just, conversations flowed. Ryan, let's talk about your channel, man. You are a super animated guy. You're a super animated guy. You got a ton of opinions. You really are pretty well educated. So what do you got going on? What can people expect?
Well, it all came to me. It dawned to me as like an idea I had when having a conversation with like my wife and some other people, nephew and stuff like that, saying that you should have your own YouTube channel and you get to shoot the shit about stuff. And I've been beating around the idea for a while. And then in the wake of all this Rona, I'm like, what do I have to? Why would I start? I have all the free time in the world now. All right, why don't I start it now? And then it dawned on me. I was like, what am I going to talk about? Everything's canceled. So I was like, why don't I just name the show Canceled with Ryan Murphy, and we're just going to talk about all the shit that we miss that is hopefully going to come back in the near future. So we're talking about canceled events, canceled sports, canceled television shows, canceled movies being made, and also stuff that has been going on in the past, as far as like stuff that we're revisiting and stuff that had been canceled out of our lives because of, stuff falling wayside and us forgetting about stuff. So I'll be rehashing a lot of shit in past events, also talking about current events. Most of the content's going to be pretty much just me satirically ranting on sports, movies, television shows, comedy, pop culture, all sorts of crap, and anything you guys suggest. Like if you put in a comment that you want a cheesecake episode, I'll do a fucking cheesecake episode. If you want to see like a gambling episode, I'll do a fucking casino episode. We'll try to touch all the bases for the for the viewers too. I'm pretty much molding myself to what you guys want. So I'm gonna start with the general topics and stuff that we can all fucking shoot the shit about. I'm going live for the first time tomorrow with my first guest, comedian Johnny K, and we're gonna be talking about sports. And the name of the episode will be Canceled Cast Episode 1. Fuck Tom Brady. That's gonna be the episode. So you can see the direction I'm going in. Not really fuck Tom Brady, but as a Jet fan and everybody else hating Tom Brady, we're just calling it that. And we're going to start the show with his move to Tampa Bay down here in Florida. And, we're just going to try to get some opinions on everybody. Hopefully you'll chime in and, tell me what you think too. But, that's it. It's called Canceled with Ryan Murphy on YouTube, guys.
I'm excited to see it, man. Congratulations. I'm glad you decided to start this. I think you'll do really well. I could be wrong, but you have something else coming up tonight, right?
Yes, I do. After this live cast, I'm going live again at 9:30 on Nothing Network, Conspiracy Theory with Codes. We're going to be talking about the real threat for zombie apocalypse. We'll be talking about chronic wasting disease, which is interesting. I won't give you guys too much, but it's a real disease, and it's really fucking dangerous. So we'll be going live on Nothing Network at 9:30.
So
Yeah.
all right. So disclaimer: I am not big on conspiracy theories at all. It's not that I don't think they exist. I'm a solution-based person, so for me to talk about things that I can't control just does not do much for me. But out of my own comical satire or whatever, I came up with a theory about the coronavirus. I think that people of power that were involved with the Epstein murders, came up with the coronavirus to just completely change the topic. Those memes got way out of hand, and they were like, you know what? We're going to release a deadly virus. Everybody's going to forget about all.
I don't know if you watched yesterday's episode of Conspiracy Theory with Codes, but we discussed that. We did discuss that, and I said this could be a smokescreen for a lot of things, not only the pedophilia ring, but it could be a smokescreen for a great many things. And it's out there too. People talk about 5G. I don't want to take away from the devastating effects of this pandemic, but you have a lot of ideas out there. I don't want to discredit any of the information that the medical community has given us and stuff like that. But you get all these ideas saying that China released it on purpose to start a war with the United States, that 5G is triggering a mutation in a typical flu that's causing all this damage, and that it's known, and all these conspiracies and stuff. I don't like to entertain too many of these things, although you can't not think about it. There's no censoring thoughts, people. You cannot do that. So if I'm thinking cow farts may have caused Rona, let me fucking think it. It's my freedom of thought, my freedom of speech. I don't believe it, but I can say whatever the fuck I want. I can say this guy Mark here caused the Rona. And nobody can stop me. He could sue me for defamation, but nobody can stop me from honestly saying it or printing it. Really, I mean, but really, in all honesty, it is a disease that's affecting us, especially you up in New York City. I want you to stay safe, Mark. So just take all the precautions you can.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I am curious. So again, I'll say this again. So should anybody have just tuned in, it's not that I don't think any conspiracies or theories are possible. When it comes to this having been done deliberately by China, when I look at the facts, I don't see why they would have done that. I'm not saying that I'm right by that. This could have 100% been deliberate by them. It's just when people make claims that China did this to say fuck you, what's it called? They did this to get to be more powerful. They did this on purpose for those reasons. My thoughts are just the problem with that for me is a lot of countries are in debt to China. China owns a lot.
Oh yeah. They lent out a lot of money.
They make a lot of money, and if they were to have done this on purpose, I personally can't see what they have to gain. Now, somebody just said, well, there was an article they posted that China just made $5 billion because they're the only people that were manufacturing masks. And to me, I was just like, that's very possible. But what I think that's being discounted by that, and that's probably true, what I think is being discounted by that is, while that's probably true, I think how much money did they lose when they weren't manufacturing? That may have been them recouping a little bit, To me, for the trouble
you can speculate what the cause of that is, because it could be a lot of reasons that could factor into the flux.
I'm a very practical person. Again, it could have been done on purpose. I'm not discrediting that. I'm just not going to waste my time presuming. But I'm curious if you have any theories that maybe they did do this on purpose. I know you got to go soon. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you know what, it's like this. It's like, let's just say you have a neighbor that you're feuding with, right? And so you guys both own these houses next to each other, and you had a grass cutting issue with them. His kid threw fucking garbage onto your property or whatever, and you guys are feuding with each other. And let's just say there's you drove and you're leaving your block or your cul-de-sac, and you noticed an obstruction in the road. That you were like, I know my neighbor leaves 5 minutes after me to go for work. It's like you get out of your car, and instead of you getting out of your car and you moving the obstruction over to the ditch or over to the curb, to the side of the road to get it out of the guy's way because you know it's a courtesy, you're trying to do him a favor. Instead, you move your car up and you take the obstruction, you pull it back into the middle of the road, and then you drive off to fucking work and say, leave it for that asshole. Do you understand the analogy, Mark?
I do. When you were explaining to me in my head, once you said neighbor, all I could think was the U.S. Think. You know me. I'm a huge fan of science.
We're neighbors with China in the sense that we're both world political superpowers and
We are.
financial superpowers. We're next to each other. We're next to each other like neighbors in the pantheon. And in the pantheon of financial power in the world, aside from China, Russia, the English monarchy or whatever, what have you, Australia, Japan, and you have everybody's like this, right, next to each other. They are our neighbors, and what China did was they left for work earlier than us, pulled the obstruction over for themselves, and then dropped the obstruction over to us and said, let them fucking deal with it. Instead of just having it 3/4 of the way in the road, they laid it across the road and made it difficult for you to move it. So that's what's happening to the United States right now. We're having a surge of cases and stuff like that. They're not disclosing all of their information and all of their findings because they want us to hurt from this, because they want to profit from it, because it's good business for them.
So I'm not going to agree nor disagree. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm sure a lot of aspects on their end.
I'm not an expert.
But what I will say to you in response to that, the entire time you were at first explaining your analogy, all I could think is the U.S. is Jerry Seinfeld and China is Newman.
Yes, that's exactly it. We got Newman.
We got Newman.
By China. China pulled the Newman on us.
No, I can't. That's just a funny analogy I came up with. I can't really say that's true because it went from fucking China to Europe, then to us, and it's been stated that it came to us from Europe. Obviously, you could argue that was a byproduct, that Newman did that on purpose and wanted it to get to America.
Yeah. It was just collateral damage in the whole thing as far as they're concerned.
I'm not going to talk.
Italy was not prepared for that. I feel very bad for them. Very bad for Italy.
But,
I'm happy that recovery right now, but they got decimated by that. Yeah.
But I know you got to go, man. And I really, really appreciate you coming on. I think we had a great conversation, man. And I'd love to do this. This is fun. Let me know whenever you're ready. Live stream all the time, bro. Thanks so much. Yeah. You guys, Ryan, what's the name of your channel? Let's tell people where to go next.
It's Canceled with Ryan Murphy on YouTube. Just check it out. We're going to have content pumping hopefully every day in this quarantine. Check it out. We got some the cool shit that we're ready to post.
And next up, guys.
And I hope to have you on one day. I'll have you on an episode too. We'll make one tailor-made for Mark.
You guys.
All right, BigCritique.
Nothing Network. Check him out. He's on there next, guys. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Take care.